Hey everyone, welcome to the Takeaway Podcast. We are going to do a special edition today. We have a roundtable discussion with Matt Adams, Baritta Deshields, and Camille Ogden. They are going to be talking about intergenerational understanding and what it looks like for the different generations to understand each other. Let's dive in.
Hey guys.
Hey.
This is going to be fun. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Camille, you ready?
Excited.
Baritta, you're excited?
I'm
Camille, you
so
were born
excited.
ready. She
Let's
came in
go.
her hockey jersey.
Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Ready. Baritta Applebaum is ready. This is going to be good. This is going to be a good day.
This will be a good day.
We have a few different generations represented here at the table. We're bouncing out of Jordan's continued series on building bridges between the generations here for the body of Christ to be intergenerational and specifically for our church to be represented and supported intergenerationally. We were talking about this a minute ago before we started. I am, I guess what we refer to as a tweener. I'm like right in between the very end of Gen X and the very beginning of millennial. So depending on what years you define it by, I'm right there. How about yourself, Miss B? Where do you land there?
I think I'm a tween too because, you know, all these X's and Y's and Z's. I think I'm an X, which is kind of ends around 1964, 65. I was born in 67. So that's the X generation.
Yeah.
So whatever was before me, I'm a tween with that.
Yeah,
I think.
we're right there.
Boomers.
We got
Yeah.
four generations represented between the two of us.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Camille, loud and proud.
Straight Z.
Straight
That's
Z,
it.
like a
Not
capital
in the middle.
Z.
You are just
Yep,
100%.
with a little line through it.
Yep.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Yep,
see, good fonts. What year were you born, Camille?
2006.
2006.
Yeah.
Does that hurt a little bit, or is it cool? I've been married for 2 years.
I just,
But no.
so much has happened to me since then, so I don't know.
That being said, though, I have a daughter. You're really good friends with Janae, who is just a little bit younger than you, and right off the bat, not making fun of the concept of the different generations, because the perspective and the wisdom that I've seen in some of you guys, teenagers that are firmly in Z, that's why we're here. That's what we're doing. I want to start, and we'll go. We'll just go around the table. I'll start. I want to help give people some understanding about when our represented generations feel understood. That is kind of the theme of Jordan's message yesterday, was cultivating understanding between the generations and how to get there, why it's so important, and where it lands biblically and how we're led there. I believe, similar to what Pastor Ken said last week, actually, if we want to piggyback 2 weeks ago, being anchored a bit in Gen X, I feel myself, I think, I can't speak for the entire generation, but I feel generally understood when I am equipped. He said it differently. He said, just leave me alone, I'll figure it out. But when I am equipped to handle it myself, I think that's when I feel most understood. I don't necessarily feel dependent upon a system or a structure. I'm a small business owner myself. That just, I don't play super well with others. The only sports I'm good at were skating and tennis because they're not team sports. You know what I mean? And I think that maybe falls into a bit of the way my upbringing was informed as somebody who was raised mostly within a Gen X experience. How about yourself, Ms. B? Talk to me.
I think for me, I feel understood like you when I'm left to figure it out. I think I'm wired that way. And that could be have a lot to do with my upbringing. You know, for me, I feel like growing up, my parents were so much older than I was, and they did everything for us. So when I had the opportunity to kind of do it myself, I really wanted to do it myself and figure it out. The other end of that question would be when I feel most understood, I think is when my input or my presence or that I might even have something to contribute is dismissed. Like, you know, we got it. We don't need your input, or we have a better way of doing it, or we've already thought about that. I think that's when I feel most, I don't want to say misunderstood, but most on the outside of what's happening.
Yeah. That's a beautiful representation. Actually, you're talking about the tween, right? Between the generation of the baby boom and the generation of X, where what I think I hear you saying, tell me if I got this right. I hear you saying you're leaning into the X because you're like, I got this. I got this. Also bouncing off of your parents' generation where they did a lot for you. You're like, hey, let me grow. Let me develop. Let me do this. But then at the same time, I also hear you leaning one foot into that, we'll call it the elder X, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been sometimes called an elder millennial,
Wait a
right?
minute,
Where
wait
it's
a
like
minute.
you're the oldest of the millennials and the youngest of the X, right? So you would be right.
Careful.
Exactly, right? As Jordan and I were laughing about this the other day, there are landmines galore in these generational discussions. And I'm sure we're going to get to lots of young ones because Camille's already been toasting us just a little bit, but in a good way, because I think that type of open discussion is why we're here. But I hear you saying, and tell me if I'm correct in this assessment, where you want to be able to handle it and feel equipped and empowered to do it yourself.
Yeah.
But then when there is time for input, being dismissed or being excluded, where no, we don't need that input. That is like putting up some of these impenetrable walls between the generations that we're talking about, building a bridge over those walls. That's it's actually really cool to see both of those things coexist. Where you self-motivated empowerment, but when it's time to contribute, hear me. See me.
Like I really get excited when I'm asked a question. Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
Oh, you really want to know?
Yeah.
You know, I get excited because think about it, we've lived a lot before the generation that's preceding us.
Yeah.
And so we do have things to contribute. And just because maybe we didn't figure it out or work it out or do it the same way, you're now doing it quicker, faster, with less components. It doesn't necessarily negate that what we have to offer is not important or valuable. And I think sometimes, for me, that's where I feel misunderstood. Like, oh, we can do this in 30 seconds or less. It's going to take you to, okay, but it worked, you know, so.
Right. 100%. Let me hear the opposite side of that experience. Camille, give me the Z. Give me the Z goggles.
So
lens.
I think I definitely took that question a different way.
Yeah.
I thought it was more of, how can someone else help to understand me? And when do I feel like me as a person, I'm being validated and recognized for the things that I have inside of me?
Yeah, talk about it.
And so I think more of that comes with if you're able to understand my thought process and the way that my mind just works about things. Like, once you're able to talk and have someone who thoroughly has the same language as you in your mind and how you connect things, it's game over.
Yeah.
It's done. So I think a lot of it with how this generation has kind of come about, it's more about mentality and like mental stuff. So I think a lot of it is more about the deeper hidden parts is where we most feel understood.
Yeah. Talk about how, because I've noticed this very same thing, and raising kids there of Generation Z. I have definitely noticed, and I think the world has come to understand and embrace much more how much more important mental health is, emotional understanding is. Talk to me about where, because you have really good foundation in your upbringing and your faith, and you're also of a generation that is just more experienced, younger, right? So you have language and understanding that, I mean, I had no idea about the different types of depths of understanding socially and emotionally that your generation has. You guys are way ahead of the game, right? Y'all are cooking with gas because you guys know things that it took us a lot longer to grow into, you know? Talk to me about where you see a good intersection for the way the younger generations function more emotionally and mentally, and how that intersects with the education that you've been given in your faith and the way that your spirit leads you. Does my question make sense?
Yeah. I think it's more of two lines that start to coexist and then start to merge at the end.
Where do you feel like they merge?
I feel like once life really starts to take a hit, and right where you start to really start going, it doesn't give you like a little foundation, like preset, all right, you like do a little tester now before we get into it. It's just like, okay, you have these two separate things. Now let's see how you're going to either combine them or, level them out or get rid of them. But once life really starts to do its thing on you, that's when you really start to see what
You're made of.
you're made of
Yeah,
and what
yeah.
your foundation is going to be based
When
on.
the rubber hits the road,
Oh, 100%.
how are you going to do it?
Is it going to burn and smoke, or
Yeah.
is it going to coast?
Yeah. Man, that's good. God, these kids are smart.
Oh, I know. And they're so deep. So I guess I have a question for you then. What way, or what is a way, or what could we do to better go deeper with you guys, to better understand and make it genuine, where you feel like it's genuine?
Yeah. Well, I think this also goes into something else I think we were going to stumble upon later on, but I started having some, misunderstandings with older generations at my school, and just some of the thought processes. I was like, listen, I don't get it, man. There's not one thing that makes sense about this. I'm trying to figure out what's going on in your mind. So I started to have meetings or like lunch with staff that I had misconstrued ideas about. And I basically was just like, all right, tell me how you got here. Tell me about your life. What's going on? And just like starting out to figure how people get where they are and why they're in certain places and why they want to do this and do that and what makes part of them what you see. Just have a conversation.
Yes.
Like lunch. That's it.
Yeah. You're
30
talking.
minutes.
So
Done.
be open. Be
Done.
open to
Yep.
that. And okay.
Yep.
Okay.
You go in with a level mind. And I think a lot of what people miss is it's not, yes, generation plays a part,
Sure.
but it's more of, all right, human to human. Let's sit down, because at the end of the day, the only thing that God sees is light in us. It's the
Yeah.
same type of light.
Yeah.
So,
So if we come up to you and say, one of you guys say, hey, you want to do lunch?
Done. Yeah.
Okay. Because I feel like you are like an enigma. I don't
Camille is
feel,
special, it's true.
right. I don't feel like I could approach Z
Yeah.
and say, I'm interested in what's going on in your head. Can we hang out? So maybe that would work.
but if you said it like that, don't say it like
Don't
that.
say it like that. So yeah. So like
you want to go grab lunch and just like hang out. and talk.
okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Because if you set it up too professionally, I'm just like, nah, I'm good. I don't.
You're too stiff.
I just want to relax and just
Okay.
live.
That's good. That's good information.
It's interesting because I feel like I hear you guys talking about two very key points here. One is the unique experiences of generational groups, right, and how that informs how they got there.
Yeah.
And then the other is how are we approaching this, right? An analogy that I've used often when I have these conversations is buying a car. Right, buying a used car. Okay. So you take, and I'm just going to very grossly generalize. You take somebody that is of an older generation, somebody firmly in, we'll call it the baby boom generation, right? They have been given a person-to-person experience because that's the type of society they grow up in. They walk in to a car dealership, and I would imagine best practice, they would be approached in a conversation, somebody relational, somebody works with them. When they come back in a few years to trade up there, hey, I got a guy over there, and he takes care of me.
You're right.
And that's important. Gen Z invented Carvana, right? Where
Marketplace.
Gen Z invented Carvana, where I can get on, hey, listen, everything I need to know about this car, I don't even have to talk to a person.
Right.
Y'all ever road tripped in a big city and you see the car vending machines?
Yep.
I can that's the one I want right there.
Done.
Honda Civic,
Yep.
done. You know what I'm saying? Two so different, and that would be so foreign to somebody who grew up with an experience that was so much more relational and relation-based. It's so cool to see the bridges that are starting to connect, because I think there's so much value to both of those types of aspects, because it cannot be cold, but it's hard to be slowed down by the business like.
Yeah.
Because this came to mind when you were talking about, well, if you really want to hang out with me, don't make it business.
No,
Right.
yeah.
See me, make it real,
Yeah.
make it personal. So I see there's an awareness that I'm picking up on between relationships, see me, understand me, but then like when it's time to get stuff done,
We're
can
good.
we just do it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What are the type of experiences that you see within your own generation, and I'll speak for mine and I'll let you guys speak for yours, that you think shape the perspective and shape that type of experience, right? Because if I think through my generation, some of the formative experiences that we had, 9/11 was a huge one. 9/11 was a game changer I was of college age. I was almost almost 20 at the time. And that changed the way everything worked in this country. And that changed, I mean, how you got from place to place. Like air travel has not been the same since. Our perspective on what it means to be American has not been the same since. That was one of probably many formative experiences that we had. I gotta think for a Z, the COVID has to be like
Hands down.
Right?
Hands down.
Talk to me about how that shapes your perspective on how you see working within the world when you were like essentially shut off from the world at such a formative age.
I think a lot of it just reminds us about how sometimes you have to keep your head down and just do what doesn't make you happy, what makes things get done. And I think that has made a lot of us realize that we don't want to do something that we aren't going to be happy with the rest of our lives because of how, like, when you have a job and then now you're inside and no one else, a couple of Zoom meetings that are weird and awkward and you just want to go back to sleep. So if I'm going to be secluded and I'm going to have all these negatives every day, day in, day out, then I want to be doing something that makes me happy and that makes me fulfilled and that I'm satisfied with. And so, because once you have certain conditions or not, it doesn't matter. So once I have something that's really worthwhile for my life, then I'll be fine. Because one, it'll pay the bills. And two, there's nothing to complain about. Yeah.
All right, so that was an incredibly major point that I want to, I want to put that right there, and I want to come back to that one because the idea of doing something that you're not happy with, even though it's hard work and necessary, there's some stuff there. That's awesome. We're coming right back to that one. Baritta, talk to me about the benchmark experiences that you feel like similar to like their COVID, my 9/11. Talk to me about the benchmark type of experiences that you think might have contributed to your experience.
So, I don't know if I can think of one because, again, so my parents were in their 40s when they had me and my sister. So they were much older. And like I said, they did pretty much everything for us. So if there were things going on in the world, we were sheltered from it. We didn't feel the impact. The impact of it? No, we didn't. So I would say for me, the benchmark thing for me would just be high school to college.
Yeah.
That was huge, going from high school and starting college. And for my generation, when you go to college, okay, now you're an adult.
Yeah, you're done.
You got to start taking care of yourself. You pay the bills. And so, like you just said, if you're going to go to work, you want to do something that you enjoy. We didn't learn that until later in life. We went to work to pay the bills, and it didn't matter if you didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
If it sustained you, that was the important thing. Like I have family members now that it's automatic. You're going to work at Ford Motor Company. It doesn't matter if you like it, but it's a good job. You'll have a good pension. And it's not until now we're just seeing that we could have careers that we enjoy. And I'm in my 50s. So for you've learned that, which is a valuable lesson so early in life, where it took us years to finally realize, I don't have to be a bricklayer all my life. I could do something I enjoy.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any one thing that was like pivotal for me in that way.
When you hear, because this is something interesting I'm tracking with, one of the linchpin words was humility. That we were joking about it before we started filming. Pastor Jordan was talking about it yesterday quite a bit in service. Do you think that when you hear Camille say, why am I going to do something that I'm not passionate about, that I'm not happy with? I'll wait until I get there. Is there any part when you hear that as someone who has the experience of, no, you're just going to go to work for Ford Motor Company? I hear the word pension and I'm like, that's a thing still?
It is, right, see?
Whoa.
I'm dating myself, sorry.
No, you're good. I'm like, where do I get one of those?
Right.
It hasn't been available, right? There are very few areas that I could get into that would have a pension, and unless I set it up myself. That Gen X,
which is what they do.
So
Gen Z, they'll set up themselves.
Right. So is there any, if you put yourself in the headspace of that area in your family that's like, no, like this is laid out for you. Like you're going to go to work at Ford. I know it might not be your passion project, but hey, it's going to be a good living. You're going to have a good pension. You're going to be able to build a family and take care of it. Does any part of you, hear Camille say, I'm not going to do something I'm not passionate about? Is there anywhere in there where you hear, there's a lack of humility there?
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
Not attacking
No,
you.
no, no, that's good.
but
No,
I
I'm
understand
zooming
exactly
out.
what you're saying.
I get what you're saying.
So when we would hear that, do something that you like, I hear, or I'm resenting, or I'm not resenting, but I'm hearing, so you don't really want to work. So that's what it meant to us.
Yeah.
So you don't really want to go to work. You want to just skate through life.
Yeah.
How are you going to make a living doing that? At least that's how we were,
Yeah.
made to feel. Like I said, you get a good job, accountant, lawyer, work at a factory or whatever, but you don't have to like it.
Right.
So part of me, I see, well, are they just going to loaf? Or I like that you have discovered that you can do something that you enjoy and it can pay the bills. And more importantly, it could beyond pay your bills. I'm thinking about the person who invented Tesla.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that
Said I'm
was-
not working within this box. I'm gonna do it myself.
Right.
And it worked.
And I think that's great that your mind was more exposed where you could get there quicker than what we did.
Yeah.
So, the way we did.
Yeah, absolutely. There's you're holding both. There's an understanding both ways there. It's
I
exceptional.
appreciate it.
Yeah. When you hear, and again, we're not like personal. I'm talking about the
Yeah,
ears, the ears
In
and the
general,
lens that we
yeah.
have of our experience and our generations. When you hear somebody say, "Oh, you don't really want to work then," what do you hear, and what is that like? What's the subtext back there where you're like, they don't get it?
Or have you even heard that before?
Oh, come on. Come on now. You're. But I think it's more of you're not going to settle. And I think, there's a lot of steps before you're able to get to where you're successful. And a lot of the time I think people perceive and just see it as, all right, I'm just gonna wait all this time until it's actually able to happen, and that's that's part of having faith and sticking stuff out.
Yep.
But there's also a side where we have to be realistic, and we're gonna have to go work at Domino's for a while and see what goes down. But I think what I hear is, you're not going to settle for what's stable, because that's stable.
The
Having a
status
factory
quo.
job, it's stable job. You don't have to know if ands or buts or something coming at the end of the tunnel where you don't know. Which I can't blame them. That's tucked in inside. It's nice, okay? I just think it's also very important in this generation to have something that's sustainable for our soul,
Absolutely.
as well as, materialistic and providing.
Right. One of the biggest things that I think I have seen in the conversations that I've had that start to try to become critical of a Generation Z or that type of mindset is I hear a really thick, we'll call it baloney meter. Okay, we'll just call it that because this is a church podcast, right? You guys have a very, very sensitive radar for things that are disingenuine, right? It appears to me
quite
that you're
bad.
like, oh no, that's not
wait.
real. I'm not buying that. You know what I mean? Talk to me about one of the key here is cultivating understanding. And Jordan put it so beautifully yesterday when he said, to understand means that you, what are you standing on? What's
That's
under
right,
what
yeah.
you're standing on, right?
Right.
Firm foundation, right? Talk to me about the ways that we can gain understanding between the two different perspectives that you guys are describing. How do we find, as he said, you guys have access to information so much more quickly, but right at the top, you had said the value in being heard was the experience that you had, right? So we're looking for where the Venn diagram intersects, right? Information, experience, wisdom is the center of that Venn diagram, right? I want to go to Proverbs really quickly. And this wasn't one of the verses in our notes, but Jordan touched on this yesterday. And I want to read it in the Amplified because it really opens it up. It's Proverbs 24:3.
Okay.
And in the Amplified, it adds a little bit of depth to it. It says, through skillful and godly wisdom, a house, a life, a home, a family is built. And by understanding, it is established on a sound and good foundation. How do we find the center of that Venn diagram where we have quick information and facts, experience, the two cross, we find wisdom, and now we're equipped to build a life, a home, a family, on a good and solid foundation?
I think probably the most sustainable way to get there is just keeping the lines of communication open. We have to be willing to talk and listen. And listening is a form of communication, you know? So we can't be so tied to our own upbringing, experiences, belief systems, that we're not willing to listen, contemplate, discuss other new experiences. And that's not even generational. That's generational, that's ethnicity, that's, belief systems.
Yeah, that's people stuff.
It's people stuff.
Yeah.
We have to, and that's hard because you don't always want to talk. Like we said, I can do it. I want to be on an island by myself right now. I got it. But there is so much more growth and traction that can take place if we will at least allow a wider net of conversation.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other way to meld the two. Otherwise, you're just going to have singular-minded ideas, and
Division.
there'll be division.
Yeah.
And there's always little nuggets of things that you won't be privy to because you didn't invite the nugget holders
Yes.
in the conversation.
I agree. I think the first thing that came to my head was mentorship. And I think it's not just, young versus older, but it's just different area to different area. Because mentorship goes one way, not one way. Two ways,
Two
not
ways.
one way. It's a two-way. So, yeah. Nailed.
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 Yeah.
I love it. Guys, that was awesome.
Sweet.
That
Thank
was
you.
awesome. Thank you.
This is beautiful.
Cool.
Good work, guys.
Good work. Teamwork.
As we wrap it up, let's put it in the middle. Bridges on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Bridges.
What an incredible conversation we got to have with Matt, Camille, and Baritta. Listen, I don't just want you to listen to this conversation. I want you to put it into action for you to benefit from what just happened here today. So one of the things I want you to do is in the comments below, let us know how you feel understood and why that is important to you. It's going to help us create a more cultivating, more rich, more safe environment for us to really understand each other as we have spaces and times to do that. So again, in the comments below, let us know what that is. And I encourage you to take it outside of the digital space. Have a conversation with somebody that you really need to seek understanding from as well. Thanks again for joining us today. We'll see you next time.